Welcome to this week's episode of EThekwini Matters. I am Zimbili Mazibuko, your host. In a groundbreaking development for South African municipalities, EThekwini municipality has made history by becoming the first metro in the country to receive approval for generating its own electricity from renewable energy sources. The milestone follows the announcement by the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Ntshalintshali. To unpack this, we are joined in studio by Ntshalintshali, who is the project officer for public-private partnership under the Municipal Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. Welcome to EThekwini Matters, Zuide.
Thank you very much, Zimbile, and greetings to the viewers of EThekwini, the entire business community, the residents of EThekwini at large. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Let's tap into the significance of EThekwini municipality becoming the first metro in the country to receive approval to generate its own electricity from diverse energy sources. What does that mean?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's an exciting milestone for local government in South Africa generally. And as a city, we're extremely grateful for this approval by the Minister of Electricity and Energy. So eventually, we are the first metro in the country to receive the Section 34 ministerial determination, which is then is a Electricity Regulation Act that you must get from the Minister of Electricity before you can release any request for proposal into the market. So essentially, we've been through to this particular process for some time. We've worked together under the intergovernmental cooperation with different spheres of government, the provincial government, as well as the national government. So on the 8th of August, then the minister has indeed issued out the concurrence to the mayor of EThekwini, effectively meaning that EThekwini officially becomes the major metropolitan in the country to be authorized to procure new generation capacity from independent power producers.
The program allows for 400 megawatts of new generation capacity. Could you just break this down?
Yes, absolutely. We've got quite a few project objectives that is attached to this Municipal Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. So the first objective is obviously to restore the energy security in the city, mitigating the higher stages of load shedding and the outages that we often have in our township. But secondly, is to ensure that we are able to grow our economy as we understand that energy is what fuels the growth as well as the affordability. So we have seen that the prices for electricity over the past few years have escalated far above the inflation. And as a result of that, we bring in the sources that are more likely going to stabilize our energy sources while at the same time saving the municipality on its bulk account. Thirdly, we are starting to introduce some sort of reindustrialization and localization within EThekwini municipality. We have witnessed that the scale of deindustrialization in Durban is massive. So we've seen in the south of Durban as example, so the companies like Subpref, Engine, and other companies' industrial activities that are not functioning at an optimal level. And as a result of that, the city is starting to witness some revenue decline as a result of those deindustrialization that are happening within the city. So lastly, it's around social integration, which is to create more job opportunities for our people. We understand that energy is a catalyst for economic growth. And when we grow our economy, it means that we create more jobs for our people. So not just jobs during the construction, but sustainable jobs over the lifetime of the project development. And lastly is to adhere to the environmental sustainability in terms of obviously responding to the climate change commitment that we have actually done as a city through our Durban climate change strategy as well. So the city is actually responding to all these kind of issues that we have been facing, and we believe that this particular procurement program will then reduce our reliance on the national grid by at least 18%, which will then ultimately means that we are able to attract investment into the city of about 8.5 billion rand. So this is just a starting point, but there could be quite a number of other projects that are in the pipeline.
Talking about the investment of 8.5 billion in private investment,
Yeah.
How will this investment be attracted and managed?
As you might have seen that when you were introducing me as a project officer now delegated to deal with the public-private partnership. So this is a model that we'll be utilizing. As you know that the fiscus is currently constrained at this particular point in time, and hence our role as government is to create an enabling environment so that we can bring in the private sector in order to build that needed infrastructure. So essentially that's what we're doing. So it will be delivered through the public-private partnership, so where the city is creating the demand, and the private sector is coming with investment in order to build the infrastructure. And we as a city, we commit in terms of the power purchase agreement to buy electricity from them for a certain period of time.
Okay, now besides the employment opportunities that will be created, how will communities benefit from this? Let's take someone who is at Umlazi, someone who is at Umbumbulu. How will they benefit from this?
Absolutely. Attached to this program is not just to develop power plants, but there is also some community responsibility programs that will be initiated. There will be some community trust that will be initiated under the BEE compliance. Obviously, there is a economic development compliance that talks to job creation, that talks to local content, that talks to management control, supplier development, enterprise development into the program. So over and above the project, so there will be some other programs that will be created specifically for local communities. So nowadays we don't just talk about creating jobs, but we talk about the community ownership into the project. We would like to talk about the stake of the community into the project. Hence, the community trust will be structured such that the communities are able to benefit from the ownership of the program going forward.
Smo, we are told Guti project is expected to reduce reliance on the national grid by 18%. How will this enhance the city's energy resilience?
Absolutely. And I think if we are to study the impact of load shedding to the local economy has been very, very severe, whether you talk about stage 1, stage 2 or stage 3 load shedding. So we believe that with this particular program, reducing the reliance on the national grid will then give an opportunity to the city to build infrastructure quite closer to the consumption areas, where we are able then to minimize the electrical losses associated with that development. But at the same time, we are able to mitigate the impact of load shedding into the city. So what this does to the industrial community is that even if there's load shedding across the country, the city will then be able to mitigate that load shedding, because what we're building is a 100 megawatts of solar PV, which will then assist us with electricity during the day. And then you have the 300 megawatts of gas to power, which will then assist the city meeting the peak demand and standard peak demand, whether during the day or whether at night as well. So it's a combination of an integrated energy sources that we will be procuring. But in the long term, we understand that from the financial perspective, that the city will be able then to save about 5 billion rand over the period of the power purchase agreement. And if you calculate then the savings per financial year, you'll find that it's around 250 million rand. And that on its own, it means that we will then be able to reroute or reallocate the savings to other pressing social development that are happening in the city.
Let's look at the climate change perspective. How will this initiative contribute, especially to reducing the city's carbon footprint?
Yeah, so one of the principles of our energy transition policy position is not to favor or disfavor any kind of technology. So all what we are doing, we put forward an integrated approach. So climate change is one of the key initiatives and commitments that we've already outlined in our project objectives. So the 100 megawatts of solar PV is going to drastically reduce the carbon emissions, whereas the gas that we are procuring 300 megawatts is far more cleaner than coal. And as a result of that, the city will indeed reduce the carbon emissions over the project lifespan. And as a result of that as well, we will be able, obviously, to deliver clean electricity over the period of about 20 years. So this development is not only about building the infrastructure, but it's about cleaning the environment as well. It's about creating jobs. It's about growing our economy. It's about integrating the social aspect of the city into one basket, so that we are able to respond to our 2030 vision, which will be the most caring city as a eThekwini municipality.
The solar PV RFP is expected in December this year, with construction by September 2027. So what steps need to happen between now and then?
We have already started building some very robust governance structure in order to ensure that we are able to deliver in December. As you correctly said, that the request for proposal will be issued out in December. That's for solar PV. We have already created the project steering committee, which will provide a strategic oversight to this development. And very soon we'll have another layer, which we call it is an energy transition committee, that the city manager has managed to support us in terms of appointing critical heads of department in order to ensure that we are able to accelerate this development so that we don't accumulate any delays. So in terms of the governance, we are very much good well structured in terms of responding to this particular RFP. But in addition to that, we have a team of multidisciplinary experts that has now been appointed to work in various streams of delivery. For example, there is a team that is focusing on finance, there's a team that is focusing on technical, legal, economic development, and environmental, because we understand that the energy generally cut across. And as a result of that, we need to ensure that it is financially viable to the city, as I've already demonstrated that it will save the city roughly 5 billion rand, but we also need to ensure that it is safely integrated into our electrical grid infrastructure, but thirdly, ensuring that it is legally sound so that we don't end up getting those legal disputes going into the contract. So we believe that this is an extraordinary achievement for the city, the first metropolitan in the country, and now is a template that can be used by other local municipalities, whether category A, B, or C municipalities, in order to roll out this kind of development in their jurisdiction as well.
Would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, I would like to add to the communities of EThekwini in general that we have to talk with one voice. I think that's very important. And this is a city traditionally that used to have two power plants. We used to have a power plant in New Germany. There was a power plant in Kongela. So all what the city is bringing back into the system are those power plants. So basically it's not a new thing because during the apartheid government, we used to have those power plants. All what is very important for us now is to work together under one voice in order to spread this exciting news, in order to ensure that the city is able to be encouraged and deliver on time.
Zwide, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Simbile.
There was Ntshalintshali, who is a project officer for public-private partnership under the Municipal Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. My name is Zimbili Mazibuko, and for myself and the entire team, it's goodbye. See you next week. Don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe.